In the heart of Mississippi, a story begins, not with glamour or fame, but in a small, struggling family. Little did the world know, the boy who would later become Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, grew up amid poverty and hardship. His great-uncle, Noah Presley, a man who would later become a mayor and offer to pay double for debts, showed early signs of the complex dynamics within the family. Yet it was Orville Bean, a strict landlord, who would become a pivotal figure in young Elvis's life, demanding his pound of flesh when debts weren't repaid. Vernon Presley, Elvis's father, was a man with big dreams but little luck. He often found himself in trouble, borrowing money just to get by. His relationship with the law was tumultuous. After 6 months in jail in Tupelo, he was sentenced to 3 years at Parchman Farm, a notorious prison. But even in the face of adversity, Vernon wasn't defeated. After serving 9 months, thanks to a petition from neighbors and friends and even a plea from Orville Bean himself, he was released. Yet his troubles weren't over. Orville, determined to see Vernon pay, had already taken action. He evicted Vernon's wife, Gladys, from their home when she couldn't pay the $12 monthly rent. Vernon's rule was simple yet harsh: lend money to build a house, but if repayment stopped, the house was taken away. This was the reality for the Presleys. After being evicted, Gladys, reliant on welfare, took young Elvis and moved in with relatives, hopping from one family's home to another. By the time Vernon rejoined them, they had settled into their own place, but the cycle of moving continued. In Mississippi and later in Memphis, they lived in at least 7 different homes during Elvis's childhood, and several more after they moved to Memphis when he was 13. To outsiders, the Presleys seemed like a family constantly on the move, always one step behind on rent. But to Elvis, it was unfair. His mother, Gladys, was honest to a fault. She worked hard, always trying to pay back what she owed and keep their bills paid. Elvis watched as his parents struggled, hearing his father read the Bible and pray every night for a better life, free from poverty. Despite their hardships, Elvis wasn't a sad boy. He didn't understand poverty because everyone around him was in a similar situation. His parents kept him close, just the 3 of them, sharing a room most nights. When Vernon was away, Elvis slept with Gladys, their bond growing stronger. They shared a special language, and she often read him stories from the children's Bible, like the adventures of Jonah and Joshua. These stories would later influence Elvis's own love for music and faith. Elvis often heard his father say they were poor but not trash. This distinction mattered to him. He knew their life was hard, but it wasn't as bad as others made it seem. He remembered meals of pork chops and creamed potatoes, not the meager fare some stories suggested. He never went to bed hungry, though sometimes they were close. Elvis defended his father, seeing the effort and love behind his actions, even when others saw only failure. Vernon was not without his flaws, but Elvis always stood by him. His mother, Gladys, though timid and nervous, was dedicated and hardworking. She dreamed of a better life, even if she had to dance in the movies, a dream she never fully realized. Both parents loved music, singing hymns together, a tradition that would shape Elvis's life profoundly. In their small world, religion played a central role. Church was both a place of worship and entertainment for the Presleys. Elvis, too young to understand the complexities of faith, was captivated by the music and the community. He remembered sliding down from his mother's lap, trying to sing along with the choir, even though he didn't know the words. These early experiences with gospel music laid the foundation for his future career and his deep connection to faith. Despite their struggles, the Presleys found joy in their simple life. Elvis's mother, Gladys, would spank him for stealing, but she also took him to church to confess his wrongdoings. This dual approach shaped his moral compass. And when illness struck, their faith became a beacon of hope. When Elvis was dangerously ill with tonsillitis, his parents prayed by his bedside and the fever subsided. This experience reinforced their belief that their son was special, a message from God. Elvis's early years were marked by hardship, but they also sowed the seeds of resilience, faith, and a deep love for music. These elements would later define not just his life, but his legacy as one of the most influential figures in music history. Elvis grew up in a small town where everyone knew each other's business. Neighbors often spoke about Gladys, saying she was too attached to Elvis, fearing she might ruin him. This attachment showed in little ways, like insisting on him always having his own dining utensils, even when he went to school. It amused other kids, but it made Elvis angry when they used them. His temper would flare up over small things, which puzzled him since he knew it wasn't right. His mother often said, "You always hurt the one you love," a line from an old song by the Mills Brothers, and Elvis realized there was truth in those words. Though he never meant to, he often hurt his mother, but it was never on purpose. Elvis was a dutiful son, always carrying his own eating items to school, which made some kids laugh. No one really knew why he reacted so strongly to others using his things. It just bothered him deeply. He often got mad at the smallest things, even though he knew he shouldn't. People close to him remembered him as passive and obedient, with his parents' main worry being his occasional bad dreams and sleepwalking episodes. Elvis couldn't explain what happened during these times, but his mother believed he was searching for someone named Jesse in his dreams. When Elvis grew older, he made promises to his mother about the future. He wanted to buy her a nice house, take care of her grocery bills, and even get her 2 Cadillacs. His ambition was clear. He wanted a better life for her than he had known. Elvis attended East Tupelo Consolidated, a small school with only 2 grades combined into 1 room. At first, his mother walked him to school daily, but as he grew, he started going with other kids from the neighborhood. The story of her walking him until he was 14 was more myth than reality. Elvis's parents didn't have much education themselves. His mother had attended school for just 4 months a year. Yet she was determined that Elvis would have a better life, wanting him to finish high school and secure a good job. The school environment was strict, and Elvis, though shy, was always polite, saying yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, a trait he kept throughout his life. Looking back at 6 or 7, Elvis might have dreamed of a different life, imagining himself on stage, perhaps even on a show like the Grand Ole Opry, a radio program popular in their community. During World War II, America was fighting overseas, and Elvis and his classmates sang patriotic songs like "God Bless America." One day, when Elvis was 7, he performed a duet of "You Are My Sunshine" with a classmate, pretending to play a toy guitar. It's easy to imagine Elvis dreaming of stardom, listening to the Grand Ole Opry on the radio, a weekly family ritual. His father, Vernon, usually had an old car that would break down frequently, but it was a common situation in their community. Elvis's first public singing moment came at a fair when he was 10. His teacher suggested he join a talent contest after hearing him sing in prayers. Dressed in overalls and wearing wire-rimmed glasses, Elvis sang "Old Shep," a song about a boy and his dog, resonating with him because of his own bond with his dog Rex, which eventually had to be put down due to illness. This performance was a significant moment, even if he came in 5th place, as it earned him free rides at the amusement park and a whipping from his mother, which left him feeling misunderstood. 11 years later, Elvis recorded "Old Shep" for his second album in Hollywood. Fans were puzzled by its inclusion among his rock and roll hits, but for Elvis, it was a song he had sung his whole life. His love for music began when he received his first guitar for his 11th birthday. His parents, especially his mother, encouraged this, seeing it as a way for him to sing while playing. The guitar was simple, costing about $7.50, and though Elvis wanted a bicycle, this gift sparked his musical journey. Music and guitar playing quickly became central to Elvis's life. Without a TV in their home, he found entertainment in local radio shows like Saturday Jamboree, where he occasionally performed. A local singer, Mississippi Slim, was a big influence on him, and even backed him on guitar once. Despite initial challenges and tantrums over gifts, the guitar opened a world of creativity and expression for Elvis, leading him down a path he could hardly have imagined growing up in that small town. Elvis Presley's early life was marked by struggles and moving from place to place. When he turned 12, his family left their home in a rural area near East Tupelo. They moved into a part of town known as Shakarag, where many of the African American residents lived. This area was very different from where they came from. While the white folks in East Tupelo had their own schools, churches, and stores, in Shakarag, the black community had to use their own resources. Living near Shakarag exposed young Elvis to new sounds and experiences. He could hear music from churches and juke joints nearby. At home, his mother Gladys taught him about equality, saying that everyone was the same in God's eyes. Yet she also warned him not to befriend children from the other side of town. This was a hard lesson for Elvis, one he wouldn't fully understand until later. When Elvis started attending Milan Junior High in Tupelo, he felt out of place. He was the only one still wearing overalls, which were common among poor families. As time went on, jeans became popular, but Elvis rarely wore them. He remembered how his parents couldn't afford much, and denim was all he knew. This made jeans a reminder of difficult times he wished to forget. Books were scarce at home, so Gladys enrolled Elvis at the local library. However, he preferred comic books filled with adventure stories about heroes like Captain Marvel and Flash Gordon. He kept these treasured comics neatly stacked, holding onto them for years, even after becoming famous. Elvis enjoyed movies too, particularly the Saturday serials featuring cowboys like Roy Rogers and Gene Autry, though he had to be careful not to tell everyone at church about it. Music was allowed at school, and Elvis often brought his guitar. But one day, some boys stole it and broke the strings, thinking it was a prank. Elvis was deeply hurt, but the next day, his classmates raised money to replace the strings. It was likely the girls in his class organized this act of kindness. At 12, Elvis was already smitten with girls and their company. He even wrote a note switching his crush on one girl to another, showing his youthful, flirtatious nature. Money continued to be a big problem for the Presleys. Elvis understood that it was up to him to help. He promised his mother he would one day provide for her and his father, even joking about buying them fancy cars. His father, Vernon, had a job driving a truck but lost it when he was caught making moonshine, a homemade alcohol that was against the law. With no other choice, the Presleys packed what little they had and left Tupelo. They drove to Memphis, a city 100 miles away. For Elvis, moving to Memphis meant leaving childhood behind. At first, his mother was scared and lonely in the big city, but Elvis quickly got used to it. Memphis wasn't as scary as it seemed when they visited before. The city had its rough parts, but it was exciting and full of possibilities. For Elvis, Memphis was a new beginning. It was here that he started to dream bigger dreams, away from the struggles of his past. The city offered new opportunities and experiences that would shape him into the legendary musician he would become. As he explored this new home, Elvis felt a mix of excitement and uncertainty, but he knew he had taken a step towards a brighter future.